Hi, yes, this is the second to last part now. This is attaching the base of the dolphin to the top of the dolphin. So as you remember, we had our base made. And then what I've done is I've attached the side flippers, like I said. So it's much easier for me to explain this process when it's attached in place. So you had your marker and your arrow on the correct side. That's how it looked. So your fin swims away from the nose of your dolphin. Then when you come out and you put it in place, it's pointing in the right direction. If you was to go that way, you'd have fins facing the front. So this bit is, it's not tricky, it's just a bit awkward because you've got all the stuffed elements on the inside and you're sewing all the way around the outside. So I'll show you. So there's my bottom piece. And you can see the 3D-ness of it where it's like curling up. So here's a couple of hints for when you do the very end bit. At the very end, you sew a top stitch line around the tail. Now when you do that, you kind of stop it and start it at this seam line. So what I do, just on that piece there, I snip, not through your seam, just above it, so you haven't got that bulk. So I've taken a bit off, and I do that on the other side, just to remove a bit of the bulk from that seam, because when you're sewing through and your needle goes through it, it can make your needle a bit unhappy. So right sides together as always. Now I find a lot of pins. Right, I find lying that fin down nice and flat, bring that one over, bring that one over, and it kind of gives you that area to work with. And then you lay the right sides on top of each other. So your 2 points that are your markers are your fin point and your nose point. So line your nose point up with the nose point on the other side and pin it in place. Now what I tend to do, I might go like this so you can really see what I'm doing. So then what I do is I line up these side seams. Here and pin. And then I give it another pin here on the curve, just keep it nice and fluid. So you're sewing it all together, your fabrics can move against each other. So then I pin this side at the seam. And then again, I give one pin in the curve to keep it all in place. And I turn my attention to the tail. So you match up point F with point F. Both sides. And then again I do the seams. And to trim this little bit tail off. Get rid of that bulk. Right. Seam to seam. And do that on the other side. It might look like it doesn't fit, but you're going to have a natural kind of bit of space because that's where you're going to stuff. So this seam here, but as long as it's matching on the things, when you will have a bit of access here, but obviously that's the shape of the dolphin coming up, so it's meant to be like that. They're not the same width, but as long as you sew it right, it will become a good, helps give that 3D shape. So let's turn you around a little bit more again. Do that, is that better? Yeah, so now I just pin around the fin to keep those pieces in place when I'm sewing. The fin, when you're sewing it, is really important that you follow this curve really well, so it gives you that nice defined shape when you turn it out. Nothing worse than having a dolphin with it and it all looks a bit flat and no shape, it sort of gives it life. Turn this up a bit. And I'll pin that curve. And then I'll pin on this flat piece, keep those two pieces together. And the same here. So now it's this long body bit. Do my fins popped out. So just match the seam. So had you not sewn this bit in place, you'd have pins sticking out here and you'd be trying to match it all together. This way just allows you to line up your seams and pin in place. So on your bottom piece you had 2 points to mark out. That's the bit you leave open for turning your dolphin out and then stuffing it. Those points on there, there and there. You pin the other side. So I like to sew from the top down to the bottoms on the bottom. Reduces the amount of bulk. So if you sew it that way up, you'd be pushing that down into the machine. So if you sew it this way, you've got the flat on the bottom. Makes it much easier. And a couple more pins and we can sew the two together. You can feel how it's getting a bit tight over those pieces inside. Okay. So where's my pen? There it is. I'm going to transfer those lines onto the top piece. Obviously keep it within the seam allowance so you don't show through.
Why do you not have a clock on your game?
Okay, so sewing together. So obviously flat bit to the bottom makes it a bit easier for you. Also you can see your stitch lines from where you attach the side flippers. It also gives you another guideline to make sure you catch it all in that seam. So it looks really awkward. It is a little bit awkward until you get used to it. Okay. Now on this one you do want to move your stitches backwards and forwards a bit. Anchor it so it doesn't split open when you're trying to put it right the right way. And I'll move it around there just a little bit. You can see as it's going through. So it's now going through that side flipper. This also allows you to see, if I go this way just a little bit, you can see, see the eye there? It allows you to see where that is so you don't end up trying to run your sewing foot over that. seams lined up while I move my pins. Right, we're getting up to where the other flipper is now. Here it is. I'm just coming up towards the tail now. Got the tail. This way you want to be really like concentrating on what these pins I've got here. Okay, so on the tail piece. I'm just following the curve all the way around. And it's quite heavy with all the bits inside. Right, nearly back to the other marking line. Right, here we go. Oh, I stand you back up. Hello. Okay, so what I tend to do now is just make sure that I haven't missed any of the seam on the way around. Like that was quite close there, look, but it's in. Oh, looks good. So now so with this one, it's really good to pull the flippers out first, like so. The rest of it kind of comes a bit easier after that. So that flipper out first. Where's the other one? That's a dorsal one. There it is. So flippers. Then push your little dorsal fin out. Here comes the head. And then the tail. So the tail is shaped. So again, rolling the seams or a blunt object in there to push the seams out. So the very last stage before stuffing is defining the tail. So it asks for a top stitch. Oh, wasn't it pretty? Like that. And then kind of a bit watery effect with the tie-dye top that was used. The most dolphiny one that I've made. Right, so top stitching. So you start at the seam all the way around and finish at the seam. So what I do is And make sure if you're not a quilter, this is a quilting thing, I leave long tail. So if you want to pin it so you've got it nice and flat. I won't do that. That'll be good. Right. So it's about 5mm from the edge. You want this. No backwards and forwards, no anchoring your stitches. You don't need to do that because I'll show you why in a second. Because it's nice and neat and it doesn't chew up the thread or anything like that. So do that outline. No backwards and forwards. Lift your foot up. Give yourself a nice long thread. Now, turn it over. If you're a quilter, you know this trick. So, hope you can see. What I do is this thread, which is your bobbin thread, pull, and what happens is the thread from towards your top will bump up, and then with your pin pull it through, and then you've got both threads on this side. And then what I do is I give them a really nice neat knot. And snip them off. Nice and neat. With no ugly back and forward stitches. And you also, because sometimes you get all your bobbin thread chewed up and it makes a horrible mess. But it looks like it's just popping out of that seam. 2 seconds, my angel, then Mum will be with you. Can you just let me do this one last bit? Thank you very much, my angel. So
when I'm older, I want to play a PS.
You do? Okay, Mummy's just going to finish this bit off and then she'll be with you. I'll just pull it through. The little loops come through. Pull that line through.
Let me have...
Can I just finish this, please? Tie a knot. And all done. Now that is a dolphin ready for stuffing. Oh, that's really high. High. Yes, dolphin ready to stuff. Awesome. So I'll again, I break it up, get it into all nooks and crannies, and then I'll show you how I whip stitch closed at the end, but I'll do that in the next video, and then that'll be the end. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, like the videos as well, and I'll see you on the next one.